Hi, my name is Hala Mulki, and today I'm gonna be talking about Let Me, the first Arabic Levantine Twitter dataset for misogynistic language. This is a joint research with Bilal Ghanem. Social media has created a sea change in the journalism industry, enabling journalists to engage more with their audience. This also exposed them to online toxicity. Such a toxicity might be doubled when women are involved. According to a recent report, female journalists on Twitter receive 3 times more abuse than their male counterparts. The toxicity faced by women on Twitter is called misogyny, which is a type of hate speech that disparages a person or a group having the female gender identity. Misogynistic language can be expressed through several misogynistic behaviors, through which gender inequality, underestimation of women, and violence against women are unfortunately reinforced and justified. When coming to online misogyny, Arab women are not an exception. This could be noticed during the protests in Lebanon in 2019. At that period of time, nearly 3 million tweets were posted, a considerable part of which were shared by the journalists, and among the top mentions there were several accounts of female journalists. These females had to face systematic online bullying campaigns. This actually shaped our motivation that is becoming crucial to develop systems for automatic detection of Arabic misogyny in order to make Twitter a safer platform for Arab women. However, this could not be achieved without the availability of annotated data needed for training. Since Arabic is a low-resource language, such annotated resources are remarkably few. Therefore, we opted to construct and to propose Let Me to be the first benchmark dataset for Arabic misogyny, and it is publicly available. In order to construct our dataset, we first relied on Twitter API to scrape the tweet replies from the timelines of specific journalists who were among the top mentions during the study period, and then to make sure that these replies are targeting the journalist herself and are not part of side conversations among users within some thread, we opted to exclude replies that combine mentions other than the mention of the journalists. Then we applied deduplication and got our raw data ready. The final version of raw data combined 6,600 tweets derived from the timelines of 7 journalists representing different news agencies in Lebanon. Of course, each of these journalists has different number of tweet replies according to their Twitter activity. For data annotation, we hired 3 annotators who are Levantine native speakers, and all of them live in Lebanon, 2 females and 1 male. We provided them with the annotation guidelines that describe each misogynistic category along with a clarification example. It should be noted here that we've added damning as a new misogynistic behavior inspired by the Arabic culture, where Arabs can express their hatred of women by praying God to have this woman hurt, ill, or even dead. Also, we enriched our annotation guidelines with a list of terms and phrases. Those phrases were inspired by the Lebanese culture, where some of them were invented during the incidents, while others were derived from Lebanese idioms, such as the word acorn, which is derived from a Lebanese idiom and indicate the word liar. Having our data annotated, we have conducted an exploratory analysis to see that the final version to be adopted for classification is containing 6,550 tweets with a semi-balance between the misogynistic and non-misogynistic general categories. As we can see here, About 70% of the tweets were annotated as discredit. This could be attributed to the fact that, while trying to attack a woman, the easiest way is just to throw slurs over that woman, while other misogynistic behaviors require a more complicated composition of the tweet. On the other hand, we noticed that regardless of the news agency represented by the journalist, regardless what is being shared by the journalist, each one of the journalists got a considerable amount of misogynistic tweets. This confirms that journalists on Twitter are targeted just for being females. We also investigated the 10 frequent terms for each misogynistic class and represented them visually as follows. As we can see here, the journalist J1 has been among the top frequent terms in 3 classes: stereotyping, harassment, and derailing, while the journalist J2 was mentioned a lot in the stereotyping class, along with several terms describing the physical appeal. Finally, we evaluated the annotation using inter-rater agreement measures, relying on Cohen's kappa and Krippendorff's alpha. As we can see here, the agreement among female annotators are more than that among female-male annotators pairs. And the final value of Krippendorff's alpha is more than 80%, which confirms the consistency of annotations. Coming to disagreements, we can see that both female annotators provided the same judgment for the second tweet as it is women-related issue, Botox, while for the first tweet, female annotators were more sensitive than the male. However, for the third tweet, which is somehow sarcastic, the differences among annotators are not related to their gender, but to their sense of humor. In order to evaluate Let Me as a benchmark dataset, we conducted pilot experiments in terms of binary classification to recognize tweets as misogyny and non-misogyny, target classification to distinguish between misogyny targeting an individual woman or women in general, and also multi-class classification to recognize the 7 misogynistic behaviors. To do that, we employed several state-of-the-art models and various features, such as the Arabic version of BERT Arabert, Arabic with LSTM, bag of words, TF-IDF, and also we employed the model used by Frenda to recognize misogyny in Spanish and English tweets. This model combines stylistic features captured by character engrams along with linguistic features derived from lexicons to be used in training of an ensemble of classifiers. And in order to improve the performance of the 3 classification tasks, we combined them in a multitask learning configurations using Arabert. And here what we got. For the binary classification task of misogyny, Arabert was of the best performance. And for the target classification task, Frenda has the best performance with a slight difference from Arabert. However, for the misogyny categories classifications, Frenda's model outperformed Arabert significantly. This could be explained as follows. The performance of pre-trained models such as Arabert decreases marginally when the number of instances in the training set is less than 5,000, which is the case of our training set, which is 4,000. And finally, for the multitask learning, we noticed that MTL could improve the performance of binary classification tasks. Regarding the future work, we have actually accomplished some steps. We have extended LetMe to be a multidialectal Arabic dataset and is currently used within the first shared task for Arabic misogyny detection at FIRE. By the way, register is open. And one important future direction of this research would be investigating the impact of misogyny on the mental health of the victims. This would involve building the first Arabic dataset for mental health, aiming to recognize or detect the early signs of depressions and suicidal ideation. And that's all. Thank you.